Hello, promotion party tubers, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy 1 Dawn of Souls, apparently, with me, BlueAnkylo. So, I just want to give a little teaser here that, I'm testing out some other solo series in my downtime when I don't feel like recording, but maybe, want to just speed through some Final Fantasy 1 Dawn of Souls on my own. We'll talk about that another day. Anyway, let's get back to the game. So, last episode, we successfully promoted our solo warrior to knight, which doesn't really give him any statistical changes, but allows him to equip better weapons and, not that we have any yet, but a couple better pieces of armor for the late game. So that's pretty cool. It also, although maybe you could not tell yet, but it does allow him to learn some magic. So, not all white magic, but, I mean, if you've been watching along, or playing along in the magic shops, it tells you on the right side of the screen, you know, who can learn which spell. So, the main spell is Cure, because it's pretty good. Protect is something. Blink is almost completely worthless, because we have the defense sword. We can cast this for free whenever we want, but, you know, I'll buy it anyway. It's not like I'm short on money, so... As expected, you know, you can only learn 3 spells per level, but you might notice that they have MP cost, which is definitely not the way it used to work in the NES version. So, you know, maybe there's been some changes. For the better, for the worse, I don't know. I'm not going to make that claim, but certainly more convenient to just be able to use MP rather than limited charges. It always made it so that, like, having 2 really good spells on the same tier made one of them basically never get used. Like, the harm spells are on the same level as the cure spells, and it's almost always a bad idea to waste your slots casting harm rather than save them for cure later on. You can learn anything at level 2. Of all this stuff, invisibility is the same as blink, except I think a slightly smaller evasion buff. So we've already got free blink, so what does that matter? Null shock basically will never do anything because the ribbon counts as half lightning damage and you can't quarter it. Silence, you know, maybe. And also Blindna, or Lamp, or whatever they called it originally, in a game where you're never going to get darkness applied, it's kind of pointless. So, I don't know, I guess silence is the only thing even possibly useful. Again, I'll buy some stuff, but so far the only really good spell is Cure. And I guess Protect, sort of. Anyway, I'm just buying it because, you know, it's my thing. You know, I like to see my magic screens all nice and full and symmetrical. 3 spells per level, all learned nicely. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to break even that pattern here in Elfheim. So, level 3 white magic. Cura, pretty good. Diara is heal 2. Or, sorry, Diara is, like, anti-undead level 2. Heal is heal. Of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah, this level 3 was always one of the more difficult spell slots for white mages because Cura is your best, at this point in the game, your best single target healing. Diara is a pretty good spell against undead, and some of those paralyzing undead groups we know are bad news. And Null Blaze would have been pretty nice against, well, definitely the Lich. Astos had fire too, I think. So there's definitely some enemies where having access to these spells early on were pretty handy. Unfortunately, the Knight can only learn 2 of them, so we will forever have an empty slot over there. Okay, anyway, no level 4 white magic for the Knight. I actually don't know why. The ninjas get everything up to level 4 black magic. It's not like any of the level 4 white magic is much better. At least you could give him Null Frost, and he'd have all the 3 elemental nulls. You know, that'd be fine. Curing poison's not that good. Fear, you know... I would say... I don't understand why the ninjas can learn level 4 black, which has really good stuff, whereas the knights cannot learn level 4 white magic, which is kind of meh. Like, it's fine, but it's definitely not, you know, amazing. Anyway, with that said, where do we go next? Last episode we did Castle of Ordeals, and... Apologies as the fanfare maybe drowns me out a little bit here. Just a touch quieter on that. Okay, so, yeah, last episode we did Castle of Ordeals, and turned in our tail, and I think we did the waterfall pretty recently. I think... Oh, right, last episode we started by slaying the Lich, right? Because we were just barely able to kill the Lich. I did look up, although I sold it here, the Rune Blade, which does bonus damage to spellcasters, the one we found in the Chaos Shrine a while back. It actually would do bonus damage to the Lich. Now, I don't think it would still be any better than the Silver Axe or the Mithril Axe, but it would have been neat to test it out. Anyway, the next time we fight the Lich, I'll try to show that off. If I have the weapon for the next solo run, anyway. So, yeah, so where do we go next? Well, if you want to sort of get back onto track, we should probably do the volcano next. Is there any equipment I'd want to steal? We could go get a better sword with a little bit of work. Slightly better shield and armor if we really care about it. It's actually fairly easy. How far did I get? Oh, there's something we could do kind of easily. Yeah, we got some money. Okay, let's go do this real quick and easy. Before we do the next proper dungeon, because we're doing a solo challenge, we'll try to buff our equipment up first before we do difficult areas. So, unfortunately, in the remake here, we can't land in the desert anymore. So you're gonna have to walk. Oh no. Walking a few steps. There we go. The caravan. So yeah, this is also cheaper. You know, 20% off. Good deal. And this time, you can't just use it. We've got a fairy in a bottle, and we're gonna keep her there forever. I mean, I kid. You know what's gonna happen, right? So let me see. I gotta get a feel for how our power is looking. 830 HP, lots of defense, lots of offense. With a ribbon and a protect ring, we are pretty darn strong. There's not a whole lot that can kill us at this point. Which is the way it should be, of course. But yeah, anyway, so let's take this bottled fairy. Try to land near Gaia. Oh no! The fairy escaped. Or we let it free, I don't know. Either way, I'm sure we'll be okay. How are my potions looking? We could buy some high potions while we're here. Again, some ethers, now that they're not even that expensive, might as well stock up on ethers, right? Phoenix Down's not so good when you're solo, because we're never going to resurrect the thieves. It's just pointless. But yeah, the ethers will have some value to a knight. Might as well get those. Another item that did not exist in the original release. Between high potions and ethers, we definitely have some advantages. So with this, we get the oxyale, the magical bubbling air thing, whatever you want to call it. And I think what we'll do is just quickly visit the top of the water temple and pick up a couple special pieces of equipment. They're pretty easy to get to. I mean, like, I kind of oftentimes I prefer doing dungeons, or like I like to go through the games kind of in order, like the as intended order is kind of it's my de facto preference, I guess. But when you're doing a solo challenge, that's obviously often the wrong way to do it. So we'll be a little bit smarter, and we'll do a little bit of sort of sequence breaking type behavior here by heading to the third Fiend's dungeon before the second. Although, strictly speaking, I think you're meant to do the volcano before the ice cave, even, so that's fine. Alright, so... Oh, I should play the little music here. I really love the transition down to the water temple in this version of the game. Where's the underwater temple? I really love this track. This is one of my favorites. So, underwater temple. This is why we have the gauntlets first, before we come here. These fights you can't run from. They take probably 9 turns to win on a solo run. Or you could have some fancy-dancy gauntlets that kill all the red ones quickly, at least. Yeah, the Sahagan princes used to be wizard Sahags, I think. Ooh, white sharks that are suspiciously pink and purple. These are really good for experience, so we'll get lots of level ups doing stuff like this. Look at that. Level up. sea scorpions, or lobsters as they used to be known. They're actually one of the more powerful enemies, oddly enough. Now, when you're playing with a knight, they still don't really do that much damage to notice. But groups of scorpions, or lobsters that is, sea scorpions, they're actually like one of the more dangerous underwater temple enemies if you're not on a high absorbed character. It's one of those things I never really noticed so much on casual playthroughs, but on revisits I'm like, oh, wait a second, those guys are actually kind of tough, surprisingly. I always disrespected them. Now, I don't know if the Deep Eyes, like their Odd Eye brethren, get any special attacks. I feel like they might just be generic, you know, hit enemies hard type thing, kind of like the sharks, but I don't know. You should always kill the white sharks first. They do way more damage than a normal shark, and give all the experience and everything. Plus, the normal sharks, I think they can run away at this point, or swim away, haha. Now, if, for instance, you're doing this dungeon, and you manage to hold on to the coral blade, it's in the earth cave, it should be doing bonus damage to all the enemies, or at least most of the enemies down here. If you're into that kind of thing. I just sold them all, obviously. Because I'm a big cheapskate, and I just wanted some money. For no reason, just to have a big pile of money, really. Diamond armor, previously known as opal. So yeah, this was one of the reasons we might come down here. That's the highest defense value you can get on armor. Although there is better armor, strictly speaking. Well, also in the remake, there's even better stuff later on, but most of the time I'm talking in terms of the non-optional content. The bonus dungeons add all sorts of crazy gear that throws off the balance quite a lot if you get them before you do these dungeons. You think Mazmun's the best weapon in Final Fantasy 1 until you see the Ragnarok or the Ultima weapon, which have been ported in, of course. So this is the 4th floor. It's actually a relatively risky floor. We could run into some really powerful undead enemies down here that I'm not super well prepped for. Well, this will help a lot, actually, theoretically, depending on the type of group. But we should really be keeping our HP maxed out in this area. These enemies that we've been running into today have been all very easy. This is all nice, gentle EXP bags, basically. Nothing too much to worry about. I don't know why I've... Oh, here we go. I don't know why I've changed my mind and suddenly I'm starting to full clear dungeons, but anyway, ghosts are pretty tough. I'm gonna try Diera. I'm not sure if this is the right choice. See how it works here. That's not enough damage. I think they've got like 300 HP or so. I think Fire 2 may have done more damage than Diera. Or actually, to be fair, ooh, this is gonna be dangerous. Uh-oh. Okay, I think we're good, as long as I go first. Okay. Oh boy, yeah, so, yeah. Those are the actually dangerous enemies on this floor, and, even as a knight with a lot of HP and a lot of defense, we still almost died. That's crazy, and they can come in groups that are larger than 4. So anyway, that's kind of the bane of most solo runs in this dungeon. Usually you'll have the ribbon before you come here, so there's nothing that can really paralyze you or instant one-shot death kill you. Oh yeah, that's why I never come into this room. Ha! I forgot. But yeah, these ghosts, the just physical powerhouses they are. Even a very strong knight is at some risk here. Now, actually, I just forgot. Okay, the next time I fight a group of ghosts, I'll show you the proper way to handle that fight, because I am not doing it properly. There's probably a couple of you watching along, whether you've yelled at your screen or slammed your head into the keyboard, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a way to, oops, I went the wrong way. There's a way to deal with those groups. Safer, more safely. Oh, wow. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. I keep getting interrupted, but yeah, the power of magical damage in this version does scale based off your stats. So, like, in the NES Final Fantasy 1, spells just have a flat damage range. Enemies do have a magic defense that gives them a chance to take half damage, but otherwise, the actual damage values are, like, I forget the exact numbers, but Lightning 2 here might have normally done, I don't know, 50 to 100 or something like that. And that would have just been all it ever did. Some enemies would resist and they'd take half, and that'd kind of be all. In the remake, your weapon or your magic damage also scales off of your, I believe it's your intelligence stat for everybody, like white and black mages both. It's not like white mages get wisdom like a Dungeons and Dragons game, or spirit like a different Final Fantasy IV game. Yeah, like essentially the knight with 12 intelligence gets a lot less value out of those spell items than some other party. This is the weapon I was looking for. Okay, so now we have access to Fire 2, Lightning 2, and Harm 2, essentially. I feel like that's worth a little bit of exploration. Sometimes the maps down here throw me off just because it looks different than the original, even though the layout's exactly the same. Okay, so the trick is to use the Defender. That's Blink. Pretty good evasion. Let's use it twice, because unless they changed all the formulas, it does stack with higher and higher evasion. And once your evasion gets to a certain value, enemies cannot hit you unless they get a critical. And I think Ghosts, they only get like 1 or 2 really big hits, so it's actually not too hard to evade out. Most enemies you can basically, you can almost always drop them to 0 accuracy other than crits with a bit of work. Harder on enemies that get 8 attacks and have really high accuracy, but never really that hard. And anyway, that was the dangerous part of the Sunken Shrine. Now we just get some loot. This is the treasure floor. So the diamond armlet, although not as good as the diamond armor, is actually like a unique singular item that is generally the best equipment for, well, pretty much everyone who's not the knight, actually. I think it's tied for the best ninja armor, except also more evasive, and then just straight up the best physical defense for everyone else. So, you know. Now, again, I'm just sort of full clearing this by habit. I probably there's nothing here. Like, I know what's in these chests. It's money and, like a heal potion or something. It's not really worth my time, I guess. Antidote. Sorry, it was not a heal potion. Diamond shield. Alright. Well, that was sort of worth it, I guess. So there we got 4 more defense. Right, so what to talk about? Well, the main reason we come to this area, not for the diamond shield, is to go loop-de-loop around top to the top right, but, you know, going around magically in a circular room to get all the stuff over here. Ta-da! The Rosetta Stone, also known as Slab. Unfortunately, as nice as the diamond gloves sound, they're worse than a Protect ring in every fashion. And the ribbon, although the diamond helm would give you more defense, the ribbon is better, again, in basically every other faction other than defense. I would not say that there's ever a time where +4 or whatever defense is better than status protection and elemental resistance. That's just, it's never going to happen. Alright, now just on the off side, off chance that we get killed on our way out, we'll put a save down, but I think it'll be smooth sailing. Especially if I'm smart about it. I'm still going to go with 2, because I think that'll basically guarantee me most evasions. And then we'll just super speed and we'll be fine. Alright, so yeah. A single character with Blink. Honestly, the Defender Blade is maybe not the most powerful equipable weapon, but holding on to it for that on-use activation item, like that's... It's really, really a good spell to get for free. It's essentially the Blink spell is what makes white mages, solo white mage runs possible. Without that, I don't think they would actually be possible. I'm not sure you'd ever be able to kill the wizards, for instance, without Blink. Alright. 2 we can handle without evasion, right? Alright, good trip, short and sweet. We got the best gear in the Ocean Temple, or Sunken Temple. There's a couple more things we could pick up. I think there's definitely a ribbon in a level below us. There's another Diarra axe, if that's what you want, a light axe. There's a couple other things if you want to search it out, but I think we've got the stuff we wanted anyway. I guess I could continue to be greedy and get more treasure. I could do another treasure dive before we go to the volcano. We could get another weapon upgrade and a small armor upgrade fairly quickly. I guess it might be worth it. Sorta. It's kind of fun. And if you're playing a solo run, the truth is, we're going to need to get to a much higher level if we're ever going to beat the game solo. Unlike the original's Chaos with 2000 HP, the remake's Chaos has a lot more. And I don't think it would be possible at level 50, a solo fighter. Even with the best weapons, there's just no way. I'm sure someone can post a video if they've got contrary evidence. I have a hunch that it's impossible. One thing that you might want to note is our current number of attacks is 8 hits per round. Now, your accuracy stat maxes out at 255 on this screen, and that will limit you to 8 hits per turn naturally. That's kind of the soft cap on number of attacks. If you have the fast spell, Black Magic level 4, or specific items that let you cast it... oops, I have to go somewhere else first, before I go there. You can double the number of attacks. So then we can go from 8 to 16. Other than if you're a black belt or a monk, which gets double base attacks. Anyway, then they're going from 16 to 32 instead of 8 to 16. But there is actually ways to increase that even higher, although they're not part of the vanilla game, really. They're more of bonus items from the optional dungeons kind of tricks. But I have seen like 50 attacks per turn. It's actually kind of insane. I came back to Melmond because of Dr. Une. And we give him the stone, and we learn a new language instantly. He's a pretty good teacher, right? So we learned Lufinian. Now, you can speak... Wow. Man, I seem to remember university, it was a lot more difficult to learn a second language. That was interesting. Okay, so the reason you learn Leafian, in case you... Or Lefinian, I would just call it Leafian. That makes more sense. Is to go... Wow, I almost went the right direction there. To go to the last city. The one city we haven't been to. Probably should save it just in case. Ooh, and look at that. We've got a little bit of MP now. We could actually cast some magic. I'm kind of hopeful that Cure 2 will eventually heal more HP than a high potion. Because it would be nice to have a slightly larger heal for big boss fights than 150. But we'll see what happens. The knight is not great at magic. That's a lot of winter wolves. Should be weak to fire, though. Winter soldiers. Almost enough to kill them all. One of those situations where maybe a few levels would buff up our damage enough. Maybe. Well, it's not like he gets intelligence up very often, so... Oh, man. Ambushes. So the ice attack, the little frost attack they do, it's kind of annoying in a big group, especially if you don't have ice element protection. But solo, because it's a group attack, of course. Solo, it doesn't hit, like you're saving yourself 3/4 of the damage because it's not spread out, and especially if you've got I guess it's a fire shield, a fire armor, or anything that gives you fire protection, let's say, or sorry, ice protection. That's what I mean. You know, just it's not doing that much damage. So yeah, I'll try to use some of the item staffs, the spell items. Basically, they are pretty awesome, and I know I have a habit in especially my NES solo runs that I recorded a while back of not really using them very often because I got lazy and just held down attack, which is kind of easier, but it's not optimal, you know. Alright, I got the chime. And in case you're really new to Final Fantasy, there's a secret in this town. You know, you go over here, you find the level 8 black and white magic shop, you know, just in case someone doesn't know how to get there. Wow, they're giving me a lot of these wolves. This is where traditionally having a black mage or black wizard at this point would be pretty awesome. They'd tear through those large groups of enemies that they can take an elemental weakness to just like nothing. Like cutting through them like butter. You know, I bet you a similarly leveled black wizard casting the same spell would probably do like 200 or 300 damage by now. Like, it's pretty darn good in this game. It scales really well. Like in the original game, the level 2 fire, ice, lightning spells were great early game, but by the late game, they didn't really do enough damage to compete. And unfortunately, even the level 3 spells oftentimes didn't really do enough damage. Like, you'd see a fire 3 do like 80 damage against an enemy or something on a bad roll, bad luck. And that's just not enough to substantially take them down. Sandworms are actually quite scary. They have instant death attack, that crack ability or spell. That can straight up kill you, but I believe the ribbon protects against it. There's all kinds of weird instant death attacks are not all death elements. Some are poison element for like Bane is poison gas, and I think crack is technically earth element or something. I could be wrong. There's a bunch of weird elements that aren't simple like fire, ice, and lightning. There's even a time element with like one spell that uses time element. Crazy. Alright, so because I did all that little side questy stuff, well, it's not really a side quest, but the fetch questy stuff. Now you can enter the Mirage Tower. Don't try to do that unless you have the, I'm kind of skimming through this all, but you need the chime to enter this tower, essentially. So, we're coming here for a little loot grab. We're going to do the first 2 floors, probably. That's it. Well, it depends on how we're doing. If I haven't run into anything terrible, I might pop up into the top of the dungeon and pick up a very special item that's very dear to my heart for my knight. And that would make the carry fight all the more scrumptious. I'll probably do that if I can get away with it. If I'm not pushing my luck too far. So the healing helm is, it's certainly nice. It's actually, interestingly enough, one of the only helmet that the ninjas can actually equip. They're better off with ribbons anyway, but it's interesting because ninjas can't really equip any other helmets, so it's kind of odd that way. Otherwise, it's not quite as good as the diamond helm in defense, but on use, you can get heal out of it, which is pretty good, right? Vorpal Sword. Now, you might think that that's pretty cool. If you played Dungeons & Dragons, you might know about the Snicker Snack and beheading enemies in one shot on crits. It does not work like that. It might have a higher critical rate, but it's just not going to insta-kill enemies here. I don't think it talks to you either, unfortunately. But that's the armor you sort of come here for. The Aegis Shield provides some status protection. Some. The ribbon overrules it anyway, but I feel like the Aegis Shield is generally the superior choice. Just, you know. There is actually a hero shield, if you go through the bonus dungeons, that functions basically like a ribbon, and then you can actually take the ribbon off and equip higher defense items, because you've got a shield that gives good defense and all elemental protection. But that's a pretty hard item to get. I'm not going to say never, but let's just say it would be a very extreme challenge to go solo warrior or solo knight and pick up a hero shield. Again, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I don't think it would be very easy. Looks like we're also about 1 level away from hitting the HP cap of 999. Breaking all the barriers here today, guys. So, these guys hit pretty hard. I maybe should have rused up or blinked up, whatever you want to call it. Sorry. Paralyzed does not compute. Our knight is immune! So we had like 3 episodes where I cleared half the game, and then today's episode we just farted around and we didn't make any progress at all. It's perfect! Well, it's valuable gear gathering. And honestly, once we finish our little gear adventure here, probably one more episode will take us to the end of the game. Well, it'll take us through all the fiends. Today we get all our equipment. Tomorrow we'll probably kill the 3 fiends that are left. And then we'll talk about how we're gonna fight Chaos. I can hear everyone's whispering in the background. Oh, how's Blue gonna do it? Chaos is so strong. He's got big muscles. Alright, let's just kill some enemies quick while we go through. Get some experience, get a level up or 2. So Thor's Hammer is another Lightning 2 casting item. Not that we need it. It's also the best equipable weapon for the White Wizard, other than Mazmune or other secret bonus dungeon weapons that may or may not exist. Dragon Mail, that's the armor I was looking for, and the Sunblade is the sword I was looking for. So it's better offensively than the Defender because you can use it to, well, it does more damage, and it's also bonus effective against a lot of enemies. That's cool. And the Dragon Armor, while looking the same as Diamond Armor, also gives you elemental protection from Fire, Ice, and Lightning. So if you go Dragon Mail plus Aegis Shield, you're covered against most things, but the ribbon covers you against everything, so it's not too hard. Like, the fighter, the knight, could get away with equipping a Diamond Helm here, and probably wouldn't suffer too much for it. The Protect Ring is death, Fire, Ice, Lightning, Stone. What else is there? You get poisoned or something? You know, whatever, that doesn't matter. But there is the instant death element, the quakes, and the poison gas instant death, and that would be a problem. So as long as those exist, and I don't think the Protect Ring protects you, sadly, you pretty much want to keep that ribbon on. Hello, robot. Yeah, we've talked to your friends. If you never went to the waterfall, though, you're about to hit a bit of a wall. Alright, Blue Dragon. First dragon? That's our... No, we fought a zombie dragon already. First living dragon. No, we fought ice dragons already. Look, it's just a dragon. It's the first blue one. Blues are cool, right? Blue dragons are pretty awesome. Okay, Black Knights. They're also known as bad men or bad guys. The Razor is the Bane Sword, so theoretically we can use that for our own poison gas instant death attack. Maybe I'll try it. I bet you the Earth Medusas are immune, but let's give it a try. I almost never use this kind of thing in my own games, and I always talk about it when I do Let's Plays, because, you know, you got all these cool things. There you go, Poison Smoke. Hey, it worked on one. So they're not immune. That's, you know, that's good to know, I guess. Anyway, we don't need very much in this floating area. There's another ribbon. There's... Actually, there's a couple things. There's, let's say, 2 things I should pick up. The most important one is really good. Okay, the Death Knight there, little known fact, he knows the spell Nuke. Now, he doesn't cast it very easily. You have to leave him alive for quite a while. But technically, the upgraded bad men, the whatever their name is. Why are you playing the death music again? Stop double deathing me. Anyway, those are the guys these guys, Death Knights in this translation. They're actually spellcasters, and they have a bunch of different spells. And if you let them go long enough, they can totally nuke you, which is really surprising, because it almost never happens. Alright, Adamantite, that's what we really came for. But there is one more thing that's probably worth my time to pick up. Probably. Because of the next dungeon, this is kind of useful. Hey, more levels. The other reason we come all the way up here. Alright, so Black Robe, White Robe. We're not going to be equipping them, but now we have access to Blizzara, or Ice 2, and Invisara, or Invis 2, which, again, it's kind of overruled by Blink being better, but point is, Ice 2 is really good, so now we've got access to Fire 2, Ice 2, Lightning 2, and Diera, or Harm 2. And that's a pretty good elemental selection of not terribly effective magic. I mean... Looks like the Earth Medusas probably have around 100 HP, so you can kill them in 2 rounds of item use rather than 4 rounds of physical. You know, it's something. I wouldn't be surprised if at this point we could hop on down and kill Tiamat. But let's not rush things. She's definitely more difficult to kill than she was in the original, and a solo run is not particularly good against the fiend bosses because they've got some new tricks that they didn't really have in the original game. So we'll backtrack down, we'll turn in our adamantite, and we'll call that an episode. I guess technically this floor has a lot of big vampire fights on it, and they could dish out some damage. These guys are not going to cause a problem, though. Worms and wyverns. Ooh, that's a lot of catmans, they used to be called. Seriously? Alright, we're free. Alright. Zip along here. Oh boy! I wonder if this is just some free experience. I don't know. Pyrolisks are probably strong to fire. Totally strong to fire. I was just thinking that might be a nice, easy way to get some XP. They might be weak to ice, though. Like, it might be worth to try this. It worked pretty well. Cool. And what about, like, are these guys... Oh, Diera would work on mummies, or king mummies. 73. That's enough. I still think if they're weak to both fire and sort of holy element, whatever you want to call it, I still think the fire spell, Fire 2, does more damage than Harm 2. Just straight up, I think. So, unless they are only weak to holy and not fire, which doesn't happen possibly ever. I think all undead are weak to fire as well as the Dia spells. And I think fire is basically it's stronger, so you get more bang out of it. Wow, they got too many HP. I think it's 320. Plus the regen means the AoE spell was not really the best idea. That's fine. Live and learn, they say, right? Live and learn, come on. BlueAnkylo motto. Alright, Hellhounds. They're kind of like the Frost Wolves in that they have an annoying, fairly low damage group attack that mostly just wastes your time, actually. In the original NES version, it hit every character like one at a time rather than all at the same time. So you ended up spending a lot of idling time just waiting for the animation to hit everyone for 5 damage, and I remember it annoying me quite a lot, just waiting around while 9 Frost Wolves just slowly did basically no damage, but they did it very slowly. Of course. You guys, you can live. You can live. Alright, so here's what we've been working up for. We brought the fancy purple crystals to the dwarf smith, and for our trouble, we'll get the finest sword ever made. In this year, anyway. In this time frame, it's the best weapon. You'd have to, like, go back in time 2,000 years or something to find something better. Anyway, Excalibur is pretty darn good, so that's why I put up the extra work to get it. It'll make everything else a little bit easier for our old Naito here. All right, well let's call that an episode. It's already went a little bit longer than I expected, but to be fair, we did all of our treasure diving. We have essentially the best equipment a knight can have in the base game, not counting challenge dungeon stuff. Strictly speaking, there's a Mazmune, but you can't really... Well, we can't get it yet, anyway. So we'll talk about that later. We've got a pretty good amount of MP stocking up here. We're getting all these level ups. That's why I was saying earlier, the sooner you get promoted to Knight, the more chance you have for your MP to get nice and high. Not like it really matters when the most expensive spell is 10 MP for you, but anyway, good to know. So let's call that an episode. Next time, join me back as we probably slaughter the fiends in their homes and lighten up our crystals with their ashes. Whatever, however it works. I don't know. It's not like we're science fictioning the fantasy game, are we? Alright, folks. See you later.